So tonight that I'm going to talk about our lineage. And so before I'm talking about the lineage, I would just like to say homage prayers to our great masters. Padden Zawe Lama Rinpoche Dage Juro Beme Deshu Ne Gadin Shimbe Gwane Jesu Kusun Tuji Ngudro Zado So Ganga Doji Marun Jabo Do Nyuma Sune Yugan Nyeje Nyume Linga Rabge Domo Don Todo Wanju Chala Gaja Za Tuji Jimbo Tanden Be Tadish Najaro Wanju Sajya Ba Gunga Nyingbo Laja Za Sonam Ba Me Ledu Jin Kembe Yishe Rabje Ba Droe Zala Chojur Sonam Zemo Laja Za Chenam Genji Denyi Se Sanga Jazu Paro Torje Zimba Genji Je Chapa Janze Laja Za Shija Damje Sebe Je Choge Gele Drube Dorje Je Savye Chile Zebe Tonga Changwa Lame Shala Gaja Za Jaden Gundo Sambe Nambara Jo Zebe Dide Tamche Jim Tamlin Dembe Dabra Ngaso Cheja Pave Shala Soande Doji Genji Jazo Le Sunga Yishin Nurve Gaden Je Bende Bajra Sambo Zoze Pade Lame Shala Soande Jajen Sona Lido Raje Shin Deshe Sura Senge Nga Lome Rida Tada Jaze Batude Kare Joa De La De Shin Membe Mejo So Shede Surne Nange Tale Baguma Chije Tile Jo Loso Jazu Shala Soande Tizun Jawe Chila Jazu Le Ngudu Yishin Nurbole Chola Bende Shambe Sajya Ba Ngaja Chimbe Shala Soande Ngawa Lai Kenze Nube Kune Gawe Tuzuru Peva Le Sona Yishe Chodra Jam Kenge Chenche Shala Soande Jawe Yishe Jigdu Jembe Der Masra Di Jena Tendru Badr Jizu Sajya Ba Gunga Lodru Shala Soande Chashu Niden Bema Kara Chile Juju Chigu Zuki Jeri Jen Temba Bege Sajya Pade Lame Shala Soande Ngawa Lai Ridun Jambe Yang Dodo Ngada Kere Sajya Ribe Wanju Kanchen Ge Yabje Doje Chanche Soade Ngala Wanju Chaya Say Kyunla Kadre Nyinji Dambe Zirin Shetan Tribe Janzen Zen Kyuken Tencho Lamra Soad Ngawan Kyunge Janzen Zenbe Zen Tencho Sumden Dungdo Rimchen Laya Samshin Drugun Gawe Balbaden Chole Namja Tsenjen Du Ngage Wombe Chinlo Lodu Chimbe Jawe Gomba Do Shimbe Chinle Shushu Gunde Nyingbu Tenzin Chola Soande Jambe Yangda Nisu Mishebe Jembe Jinguru Chashe Tendru Shuje Shebe Nyenji Pande Jemba Sombra Soande Jawa Gundo Yanda Lamandan Rame Shuje Balalan Sada Lamji Yende Rabzo Nendo Je Change Kumba Nyudo Sho Janam Deje So Dabe De Dasa Kandan Bandabze Shiva Dan Chedan Jashi Peor Zedo So Now the thing is that the world where we live, there are many different people, different ideas, different beliefs. But one thing that is common to all is that everyone wishes to be free from suffering, and everyone wishes to accomplish happiness. So for the sake of happiness, that everyone works very hard. But it is very clear, no matter how hard you work and how much progress that you make, but one could not really achieve the real inner peace and happiness. It can only achieve by changing our mind. As long as our mind is controlled by the negative emotions, then one could not really experience the peace. So the way to release from the negative emotion is to practice the spiritual path. And there are many different religions. And I believe that all the major religions of the world emphasize the importance of love, compassion, tolerance, and forgiveness, etc. And so these, of course, will change. And I believe every major religions have its own purpose and its own beauty and its own way to help the mankind. Because they are limitless beings, and the limitless sentient beings, though we are all same, but we all have a different taste, different mentality, different defilements, different emotions, different propensities. So therefore, we need different spiritual systems, different ways to overcome this. Just an example, there's not one medicine that can cure all the disease. Each and every different disease, you need different medicines. Not only different medicines, but different systems of medicines. For instance, like for certain disease, the allopathic medicine is very effective. For certain disease, Ayurvedic medicine is more effective. For certain disease, naturopathic medicine is more effective, and so on. So therefore, all are different. So therefore, the variety of spiritual tradition is necessary. So for that reason, the great Lord Buddha, who possessed the infinite wisdom, compassion, and power, through his skillful means have also bestowed. Buddha did not give one teaching. He gave many different levels of teaching. For instance, like Theravada, Mahayana, the Vajrayana, and then each level, Theravada also has many different schools, different traditions. Mahayana also has different philosophical schools, different traditions. Vajrayana also has different classes of Tantra. And so therefore it is necessary to have a different kinds. And so the Buddhism, of course Buddha, most activities are in India, and Buddha has performed many different activities, but the physical activities, verbal activities, mental activities. But the most important, the Buddha's way to help the being is by turning the wheel of Dharma, which means by giving teachings. Buddha did not say that if you worship to me, that if I please, then I will rescue you, or I will give you the liberation and the enlightenment as a gift. Buddha said that what Buddha said is that I have shown you the way to the liberation, but the liberation itself depends on you. And so therefore, the greatest way to help the Buddha, to help the sentient beings, by giving the teachings, by showing the path, towards the liberation and enlightenment. And so therefore he also taught many different teachings. And then from India, the Buddha Dharma, the Buddhist teaching, traveled to many different countries, as you all know. But by the great kindness of the Tibetan Dharma kings, and by the great blessings of the Indian masters, and by the great efforts of the Tibetan translators, that the Buddhism brought from India to Tibet. And it is in Tibet where we have all forms of Buddhist teachings: Theravada, Mahayana, Vajrayana. And this is very clear. For example, some people nowadays talk about Southern Buddhist and the Northern Buddhist. Southern Buddhist means Theravada Buddhists, such as Sri Lanka, Burma, Thailand, Cambodia, Laos, etc. And so they have an excellent tradition of Vinaya, the monks' tradition, monastic tradition, and the monastic rules, and how to receive the vow, and how to maintain the vows and rituals and so on. And whatever they have, their practice, we have in Tibet. We have a Tibetan great monasteries, have excellent Vinaya traditions. So there's a complete common between the Theravada countries and the Tibetan Buddhism. Complete, in fact, very recently, under the guidance of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, there is a meeting between the Tibetan monastery tradition holders and the Theravada teachers in Delhi, and they had a very good discussion, and they came to the point that every practice that they do, of course, due to the different countries and different languages and so on, there's slight difference, but basically there's no difference, it's all same. Similarly, what they call nowadays the Northern Buddhists, which means like Japan, Korea, China, and Taiwan, where they have vast Mahayana traditions, such as like the Lotus Sutra, the Heart Sutra, and so on. There's a very vast bodhisattva way of life. And there's also, of course, we have everything in our own language, and not only in books, but also in practice. And the bodhisattvas traditions, the bodhisattvas way, every tradition. Then, of course, we have the Vajrayana on top of this, which is mainly, I believe in Japan they have some Vajrayana traditions. Otherwise, I don't think there are many countries except Tibet and Mongolia where the main practice is the Vajrayana. So in Tibet we have all the different Buddhist traditions, and that you can discuss with any other country's Buddhist the practice and teachings, because there's a complete similarity, there's complete base on this. Whereas like other countries, for instance like Japan and like Sri Lanka, although both are Buddhist countries, but there's no common ground, because Japan does not have the Vinaya traditions, and Sri Lanka does not have the Mahayana sutras, Lotus Sutra, etc., and also the Vajrayana tradition. So there's no common ground. But in Tibetan Buddhism, that we have a complete sameness and complete same ground within every Buddhist countries. And so Buddhism came from India to Tibet in two different periods of times. And the first time was during the great abbot Shantarakshita and the great master Guru Pema Sambhava and the Tibetan Dharma king. Although during the Songzhen Gampo, at the earlier time, there was some teachings and some practices came, but there was no full-fledged, no full Buddhist teaching. But during these Shantarakshita, Guru Pema Sambhava, and the king Trisonda's time, then the real Buddhism came and established the monastic traditions. So at that time, when the Shantarakshita tried to establish monastery tradition, tried to build the temples, and then there were a lot of disturbances because of the local Tibetan guardians or the spirits. They made huge disturbances, and that he could not really establish. When he tried to build the temples during the daytime, at nighttime they were all destroyed, and so on. So then the abbot Shantarakshita suggested that we need to invite Guru Pema Sambhava, because otherwise that we could not just go on like this. So they invited Guru Pema Sambhava, and the Guru Pema Sambhava came, and then he subdued all the evil spirits, and he made the remaining ones to become Buddhist protectors. And since then everything subsided and everything became very smooth to carry on the Buddhist Dharma. So it was actually great blessings of the Guru Pema Sambhava from the beginning. And so at that time, the Buddha's teachings and the commentaries, which are known as Kangyur and Tengyur, were translated, and where real Buddhism was established. And we, the Sakya tradition, is actually founded and established and flourished by the Kön members. And the Kön members are originally believed to be the direct descendants of the celestial beings that who came to the high mountains of Tibet, and some of them returned, but some of them settled and then continued. So at that time, they were known as a clear light celestial race. So the first name for the Kön family is called clear light celestial race. And then they were engaged with the Rakshas, and the Rakshas were defeated. And outwardly, inwardly, of course, the earlier Kön members, the emanations of Manjushri, so the Manjushri defeated the ignorance. So the word Kön comes from that. Kön means like actually disagreement. So disagreement with the outwardly, with the Rakshas, inwardly, with the ignorance. And so the second is called the pure, the Kön. And then, so at that time there were Köns, and originally the Köns, since it's been very long time, there is no any written literatures describing their life stories or their activities. But obviously, they were at that time, they were only born religion. So of course, obviously they were originally born. But then during when Shantarakshita and Guru Pema Sambhava started Buddhism, then they were also involved in Buddhism, and the first koan to involve actively in the Buddhism is called Koen Nagendra Rakshita, who was also a great translator. And then he was chosen at that time, it was the first time for the Tibetans to receive the full-fledged Buddhist monks' ordination. So they were not sure whether the Tibetans will be able to keep all the Buddhist monks' vows. So 7 persons were chosen as a trial. 3 older persons, 3 younger persons, and 1 middle-aged person. And one of the 3 younger persons was the Koen Nagendra Rakshita, was chosen. And so they received from the abbot Shandarakshita the full Buddhist bhikshu ordination, full-fledged monks ordination. And they were all very successful in keeping their monks' Vinaya tradition. So it was the auspicious beginning of the great Tibetan Buddhist tradition, monastic tradition. And later there were thousands and thousands of monasteries where there were hundreds, thousands of monks and nuns. And so at that time, and then Koen Nagendra Rakshita has a younger brother who's known as Rinchen Dorje. And he's not a monk, he was a householder. And they both received empowerments and many teachings, especially the Vajrakilaya and the Samyak Hiruka. So those 2 deities was the main deity of the Koen family, Koen tradition. And then for many generations, they practiced these 2 deities and accomplished great realization and great miracles and great, and they were for a long time. So at that time, they were all Nyingmapas, which were treated. So because the earlier translation was called the Ngangyur, which means earlier translation, and they were Nyingmapas. And then there was a gap because of the Tibetan, there was a king who was evil, King Langdharma, who destroyed many of the Buddhist teachings and so on. And so there was a gap. And then afterwards started again, another period started to bringing the Buddha Dharma from India to Tibet. So this is called the new translation or later translation. And that belongs to the Sakya, Kagyu, and Kiluk. The remaining 3 traditions belongs to the Sarma or the later translations. And how we switch from the Nyingma to the Sakya is because after many generations, and they felt it is now the time has come, the auspicious conditions are ripening to establish a separate school. So during the Könjo Gyalpo's time, they tried to conceal all the ancient or the Nyingma teachings and then started a new school. But due to the signs of the protectors are not pleased, protectors of the Vajrakilaya and Hiruka were not pleased, so therefore they could not conceal the Vajrakilaya circle of teachings. So although we are now in new tradition, but we still carrying on the Vajrakilaya teachings, even right after today, as one of our main principal deity and also one of our main practices. So this is how it became. And so during Könjo Gyalpo's time, then his brother, he also has an elder brother, and he said that I'm old, now could not learn, but you are younger, so you must learn from the new tradition. So at that time, when he inquired, at that time the most famous master is the Dogmi Lotsawa. Lotsawa means translator. Dogmi Lotsawa Sakya Ishi. And so from him, then he received many teachings, especially the Lamde and the Hebajara circle of teachings. And so then later, especially the Könkonjo Gyalpo's son, the Sachin Kunga Nyingpo's time, that he received the full circle of Lamde teachings from the disciples of the Dongmi Lotsawas. Disciples, and so on. So we, the Sakyabhas, are considered as the lineage holders of the four great Tibetan translators. The Pari Lotsawa, whose personal name is called Rinchen Thakwa, and then the Dogmi Lotsawa, the Sakya Ishe, and Mal Lotsawa, Lotre Thakwa, and Lotsawa, Rinchen Sangpo. So those are the four translators, and their teachings, their field instructions, and their tradition was held by the Sakya order. So we are considered like the lineage holders of the four great translators, and the teachings that came from the translators is considered very authentic, because the translators go all the way from Tibet, traveled all the way from Tibet to India, and then they meet the great Indian masters, and then studied for a long time, and then brought back. So therefore it's considered more authentic and more pure. So in this way that it's been kept. And so, but generally speaking, all the Tibetan, different schools of Tibetan Buddhism are same, in a sense that the first thing is the motivation. Whatever practice we do, whatever teachings we receive, where it eventually leads depend on the one's motivation. So the motivation is same. Everyone, every school wishes to attain the enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings. There is absolutely no difference. And then, in the meantime, in the main practice, every school emphasizes on both method and wisdom. Method is such as like the generosity, the moral conduct, patience, endeavor, meditation, etc. And so those are also same. And then on the other side is the wisdom. Wisdom to find what is the ultimate truth, ultimate nature, or ultimate truth of all phenomena. And that is also that every Tibetan Buddhist school follows what is known as the Madhyamika, or the middle ways. Because when ordinary people, we do not bother to find out what is the true nature or what is the reality. We take life as it is. But the more intelligent people, they try to find out what is the reality. What we see and what is the reality is the two different things. For example, people who have a certain disease like jaundice, they see moon as a yellow color, yellow moon. That is what they see. Due to their sickness, they see the yellow moon. The reality is the moon is white, as everyone else sees it. So the moon is white. Similarly, what we see and what is the reality is the two different things. What we see now, the forms, sound, smell, taste, etc. And what is the reality? What is the true, absolute truth, the ultimate truth of all these phenomena is two different things. So what is the absolute, ultimate nature or the truth of all phenomena? They try to investigate, and then there are different answers. Non-Buddhist schools also have different answers. And within Buddhism also, we have different schools, philosophical schools, that are all different. They have different answers. But the highest one is what is known as the Buddha's most important teaching, is known as the perfection of wisdom, Prajna Paramita, which was then explained by the great Indian master Nagarjuna. Buddha himself gave the prophecy very clearly that after his Mahaparinirvana, there will be, after 400 years after his Mahaparinirvana, there will be a bhikshu named Naga who will then be able to explain the true meaning of the Prajna Paramita, or the perfection of wisdom. So as Buddha gave the prophecy, the Nagarjuna came, and then he explained the philosophy of Madhyamika, or the middle way. And the difference between the other schools and the middle way school is that in the middle way school, there is no conclusion as such. Whereas the other schools, they all have the conclusion of it is like this or it is like that. But in the Madhyamika, Nagarjuna's tradition, he explained every phenomena in two ways, the relative truth and absolute truth. In the relative truth, we take as it is, as ordinary people take. We accept there's a form to see, there's a sound to hear, there's a smell to feel, smell and so taste and so on. But when we try to find out in the absolute truth, then there's no conclusion, because the absolute truth is away from explanation, perception, and description, and words. You cannot describe it is like this way or it is like this way. It is beyond words, beyond perception, beyond explanation. And that all Tibetan Buddhist traditions, Buddhist different schools, every school follows this Madhyamika, or the middle way school. So therefore, there is no difference. And then of course, since the base and the way, the method are all same, the final accomplishment of the enlightenment is also same. So the old Tibetan Buddhism, actually there's absolutely no difference. The only difference is that the lineage is different, how the teachings being passed down. For example, the original guru from India is different. And then the translators are different, how the teaching brought from India to Tibet. And then the teaching has been passed down from one master to the next is also different. So therefore, the certain emphases are somewhat different. Some schools emphasize more on the studies. Some schools emphasize more on the meditation. But otherwise, there is no difference. This is also because of the followers. Because followers are all, as I said in the beginning of my talk, that all beings are different, so therefore the variety of practices are necessary. For example, all the deities, we have many hundreds of thousands of deities. All are actually the ultimate transcendental wisdom of the Buddha, of the omniscient Buddha. Is same, one. There's no difference. But for the practitioners for the followers are different. So therefore, some deities are wrathful, some deities are peaceful, some deities have a very elaborate with many hands, many heads, many legs, and some deities are very simple with one face, two hands, some with elaborate surrounded with the hundreds of other deities. Some are very single and very simple. So that is all because we all have a different, because some people are more inclined to have a very wrathful deities, some people are more inclined to have a very peaceful deities, some very elaborate, some very simple, some with many thousands of, surrounded with the thousands of deities, whereas some in a single form. So that's why it is. Otherwise, it's all, of course, same. And then also, moreover, the Sakyapas are historically also connected with every Buddhist schools, Tibetan Buddhist schools. As I said, the Sakya tradition is actually founded and established and flourished by the Kuan lineage. And the Kuans were originally, as I already mentioned, Nyingmapas. They were direct disciples of the Guru Sambhava, and their main practice was Vajrakilaya in the Samyak Hiruka, and so therefore, of course, Nyingmapa. So Nyingmapa is like our grandfather. It is from where we originally came from. And then the Kargyupas and the Sakyapas are like twin brothers. Because at the same time and same practice, because in Kagyu tradition also the main practice, one of the main practice is the Hebajra, because the founder of the Kagyu tradition, the Marpa Lotsawa, Shukilord, is when he went to India and brought many teachings, including Hebajra circle of teachings. And so the Hebajra Tantra is same. There are two translations. One, Hebajra Tantra, root Tantra, same Tantra, translated by the Drogmi Lotsawa Shakya Ishi, and one was translated by the Marpa Lotsawa Shukilord, and they are same. And so the teachings are same, and then practices, the philosophy is also same. And because in our Sakya tradition, the five founders, and then after the five founders, the most important master is the Ngorchen Dojishan Kunga Sangpo, who founded the sub-school of the Sakya tradition, the Ngorba school. And he wrote many commentaries on the many tantras, especially the Hebajra circle of teachings. And there he clearly mentions, he clearly mentions about the different traditions and the different ways, specifically the Hebajara. Because in India also, there are different traditions, Hebajara, different traditions in India also. And then he said, and some of them, he rejected, refuted, and some he thinks that, and then he said again and again, the teachings came from the Marpa Lotsawa, which is today the Kagyu tradition, is the most authentic and very similar with the Sakya traditions. And then also, the Sakya was great. One of the greatest actually is Ngorchen Kunga Sangpo's disciple is Koran Jamba Sonam Sengye, who wrote many commentaries on the Sutra as well as on Tantra. And today, in all our Sakya monasteries, especially in the colleges, the philosophical, when we do this philosophical studies, the main text that is used is by the works of the Koramba, Sonam Sengye. And in his work, which is known as distinguish the different views, philosophical views. So in that he wrote there are different schools, different views, different things. But the one that follows the true Madhyamika, the middle way school's philosophy, is the ancient translators and then the great Sakya masters. And also he said that the Milarepa, they all follow the same view as a one word. So if the view is same, then of course everything is same. That's the most important. The ritual parts, doing the chantings and the music, and so of course every monastery is somewhat slightly different here and there, and that's not the important thing. Most important thing is the philosophy of the view. If the view is same, then what is more needed to be same? So the view is same. And then we have the Gelugpas founded by the Lama Tsongkhapa. And the Lama Tsongkhapa studied. Most of his studies are done in the Sakya monastery. And his main teacher is Randawa Shunulodri, who was actually the Sakya's one of the, how should I say that, just next to the abbot. They're known as the senior most monk who is later going to become the abbot. They're called the Lechens, and the Penlops also. And so he was one of them. And under him, the Lama Tsongkhapa studied for many, many years. So most of the sutras he studied there. And then many of the tantric part, the Vajrayana teachings and the empowerment he received from the Lama Thampa Sonam Gyaltsen, who was actually the throne holders of Sakya tradition. And so in this way, the Gelugpa is like our same, like our nephew. So in this way, all traditions are very much connected. I said that the difference is in the lineage, how the teachings being passed down is different. But even that also, lately, the Jayan Khyentse Wangpo and Jamgon Gongzhu, and Derzin Shogyu Lingpa. They're known as the Qiangong Chosun, which means three great masters. Qiangong Chosun, and they follow the non-sectarian tradition. They received from every school teachings and combined them, received and practiced, and also wrote commentaries and made the great treasures known as like the collection of sadhanas and the collection of tantras, which contains all the different schools of Tibetan Buddhism's empowerments, initiations, blessings, teachings, all together. And so therefore, now even the lineage is also kind of very much linked together. Even the teaching lineage is also many of our these collection of sadhana lineage masters. We have Nyingma, Gaigyu, Gilu, all the masters come together. So therefore, it's all same. There's no difference. But at the same time, that of course, what we call all deities are also same. There's no difference. But we must have a karmic affinities. All deities are the same. There is no difference in terms of their wisdom or their compassion and their power. But due to our karmic connections, certain deities are more easier to accomplish. Certain deities are more difficult to accomplish. So it is important to find one's own karmic connections. So similarly, with the schools also, some karmic connections with the Sakya, some have karmic connections with the Gaigyu, some have karmic connections with the Gilu and Nyingma and so on. So whatever one's karmic connection, that is as one should practice as our main practice. And then also see all schools with the right view, with the pure vision, to see all schools as actually the activities of the Buddha himself for different purposes, for different schools. Then one can receive the great blessings from every school. And so with that, one can earn a great merit, and then with that one can also receive great blessings. And although in the past, of course, past history, there are times there were some sectarian kind of activities and sectarian views and so on. But lately, especially nowadays, due to the great blessings and the guardians of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, that now we have a complete unity among the Tibetan Buddhism, and the complete harmony and complete pure vision between all the schools. So in this way, everyone benefits, everyone receives the blessings, everyone will enrich their practices, because in Vajrayana practice, pure samaya, pure pleasure, pure commitment is very important. If the samaya is not pure, then it's very difficult to gain the experience and the realizations. But if you have the pure samaya, then it is very easy to get the realizations and experience. So therefore, it's very important. And so in this way that I try to explain what is the actual Sakya lineage practice. And the Sakya lineage is traditionally carried on, as I said, from the right from the beginning by the current lineage up until now. And then last year when I came to America, that I had the thought that we should make certain changes or certain, how should I say, because if we just leave it at the moment, we have a complete unity, and but if we leave it as it is, then later on some problems can arise. So the way to solve this problem is to make a certain ways. So I thought to make some changes. Basically, actually, it is not a real change, because traditionally, it's obviously it should be the current lineage holders to be the head of the Sakya order. That's everyone recognizes that this is historically and obviously it is. But the way we do is should make certain changes. So while I was here in America, I made a visit to Seattle and then had discussions with the Phuntsho Phada members, especially the Dakshin Rinpoche, who is the head. And so we had detailed discussions, because while we were seniors, when elders were still alive, that we should make a way to a clear ways, so that in the future there will be no confusion, no problems. And Phuntsho Phada members also completely agreed what we propose. And then we made the documents, we written down the agreement documents and signed and sealed, and then, but we did not announce it. And when I went especially to see His Holiness Dalai Lama, and I had an audience with him and presented him the agreement documents and seek his blessings and his ideas, and he was very pleased. He said, "This is the best news." And so he gave a full blessing and full permission, and he written his letter also. So during the Melam, I have announced, and as everyone knows, the reason to do this is that traditionally, the head of the school goes between the two palaces, the my palace, which is called Dhammapada, and the Phuntsho Phada, who lives in Seattle. Their original two fathers were not only same father, but also from the same mother. They were real brothers, and then started separately. And it goes usually kind of alternatively, and at the same time in seniority. And so usually the head of the order is lifetime. So if it is a lifetime, means for many years. And so the younger current members, there's almost no chance to become the head. And so we made the change because one of the reasons, this is also long time ago, while I'm young, while I'm in Tibet, one of the Khyentse Dorje Khyentse Wangpo's Tulku Khyentse Shögyö Lodro, who was also very great, one of the greatest masters of Tibet. I'm sure many of you already knew, is the Khyentse Shögyö Lodro, who suggested actually this idea, original idea to making in terms of 3 years terms, just like the Ngor Laurans or the Ngorba palaces. In Ngor tradition, there are 4 palaces, and the head of the Ngorba goes every 3 years. So like that, if you also do, then there will be less confusion and less problems, he suggested, but we could not implement that while we are in Tibet. So now I think it is a good time to, because Khyentse Dorje is a great master, so his ideas certainly carries a great blessing. And so as President Darshan Rinpoche actually remembers it very clearly, that Darshan Rinpoche said it is true that Khyentse Dorje made these suggestions. And so if we do this, then every current family member who are qualified, because in the document we made some qualifications. Not every member can become, but to become the head of the order, you need certain qualifications. That if you have the qualifications, then you can, every current family member can become the head. And so in this way, that everyone will have the opportunity. And also, moreover, although at the moment we think of just 2 palaces, but in reality, every Dongse has their own families, their own, actually staying in different houses. So in reality, it's not just 2 palaces, there are many palaces, so that everyone will have the chance. So therefore, we made these changes. Many people think that it is a big change, but actually it's not a real big change, because there is still the same tradition by the current members to head the school. It's the same, but it's just the duration is slightly changed, and create the opportunity to every current member to have those who are qualified have the chance to become the head. So that's the only difference. And so last year, during the Melam time, we made the announcement, and so I'm sure everyone knows about this. And then now to implement that, the 2016 is, according to the Tibetan astrological chart, it's a black year. And so therefore it's not auspicious. So now we are thinking of, in fact we have already planned, and the 2017 is a good year. So in the 2017 that we try to implement this, what was written in the documents. And it has advantage, because now the both palaces, Dongses, are already grown up, and their studies are almost finishing. Some finished, some are almost finishing. And so then if they take the responsibility while we elders are still alive, then it has a great advantage. Otherwise, if they have to take one day without us, then of course it's more difficult, because there's no one to ask and so on. So while we are still here, that if we take, then we can give directions and suggestions and help them whenever they face problems. And so this is I wanted to mention as a part of this teaching, also a part of this talk. And so now with this we conclude.